Okay, so this teaser, we made it for Kickstarter, and I don't know if you know about Kickstarter. I was just talking about MuDA kickstarting, and I think we had a similar thing. It started off really nice on the first day, the first 2 days, and then it just stagnated, and felt really nervous. It was really tough times. And I decided to make this teaser, and it helped a bit. And in the end, on the last 2 days, suddenly the whole thing took off, and I was happy. And now we're actually a little team after Kickstarter, and that's the positive thing about making a Kickstarter. It's not the money, actually. The money is good, but it's not much. The main thing is mostly now I'm not making the film and only my mom sees it, but some more people who I don't know, and it's a big honor or privilege to make it for not only for my friends and family, but for other people, because then it's something more important somehow. And the inspiration for the project came about 4 years ago, and other desperate times. I didn't know what to make the movie about, so I went onto here. It's an inspirational website. And you see, this is the story that the film is based on, Ugly the Cat. I'm not gonna talk about what like the whole story, but basically it's a cat who is looking bad, and everybody treats him badly because of his looks. And this is the narrative part of the film, and this is mixed together with this. I'm usually playing this the whole day when I'm working on the film. Always gives me goosebumps. Just one question, can we increase the volume a bit? Or is it like the maximum? Maybe it's just here. Ah, yeah, here it is.
You got it? Okay.
Let's see. Somehow it's not making it. Ah, it's wrong.
No?
Maybe I need to get out and then.
No.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh no.
That's already maximum.
Maybe here. Oh no, that's not. Yeah, I think we have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Live with it.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to listen to it again. No, I'm joking. After this, the two inspirations, Ugly Cat and Native Americans. These are the first drawings, and they came after a big, massive research of cats, ugly cats and Indians. I've skipped this slide for this presentation, but yes, this is our concept art, and more detailed concept art. So you kind of see there in the middle of this cat, this is like the first time that he's stepping on his elbows and walking around like this. And if you see later the animation, it's already adapting this walking style. And there in the right, this is our main character, another main character, who is the narrator of the story. I'll come to him a bit later. First, here's our studio, and I'm working with like 3D animators who are really good at what they do, and it's quite good to be in a co-working space when people know what they do, and you can just ask them if you have problems, and it's quite nice. And this guy there on the right is Red Bear. He is the main face of the project. He's kind of the representative and narrator, and he's also playing himself in the film. And he's kind of the good soul of the project. And he has a Facebook website. And he has doubled the amount of friends than me on Facebook as well. If you like to add him, then add him. You can also add me. Maybe I'll catch up. So yeah, coming to design. I'll play the studio footage that we recorded. It kind of sums it up a bit. So yes, this is how everything looks, except the lens flares. You don't see the lens flares there. We basically have a lot of lens flares in the film. Nearly every shot has a lens flare. But this is the our base mesh of the characters, of the human characters. And I think the motto, I'm not sure if you say that in English, and the kind of how we try to make things is to surprise ourselves. And I'm mainly inspired by like kids drawings, for example. When they draw things for the first time, and so, they're always surprised what they come up with. Or like there's a story of a Russian animator, Yuri Norstein. He's like a big legend in the animation, and he's working with his wife, and his wife, she is an illustrator, and really good illustrator, and she's drawing the concept art for him. And he told her that her drawings are too nice, and she should use her left hand because she's just can't draw badly with her right hand. And this is kind of how we approach it. We're not like moving the mouse with the left hand, but kind of try to imagine ourselves moving it with the left hand. And if the proportions are okay, then we have to rethink it and make it bad and stupid. And this is what comes out. And similar with texturing. It's all a bit lazy, so it works from one side, and yeah, we don't care about the rest. And a similar thing here on the neighborhood. We have animation there, and it's a very telephoto lens. And everything is projected from the front, so if you get out of the camera, then everything is stretched out. But it looks good from here. And I'll show you some of the environments. Here's a also similar camera projection. And this is Mainz, for example. What we do is we go out with a camera and photograph nice things. And okay, this is taken from an image library. This is Mainz. This is my house. I used to live there. And this is China. I've never been to China, unfortunately. Mainz, very beautiful city. So yes, coming to animation. Yeah, this Europe Palace place is a really bad place. You shouldn't go there. It's like the worst nightclub in Mainz. And these things there on the floor from the wheels, it's actually there. So these cars actually drive around there and leave those marks. We animate everything with dynamics. I think that's like what made this project a bit. I don't want to say famous because it's just, I don't know, a bit famous. And why did we use dynamics? Again, we just were lazy. Watching YouTube clips like this. And I was thinking, wow, that looks so cool. And he's just dropping this guy down and it's looking already so realistic. I'm gonna animate everything like this, like see wide zoom, and try to do it as well like this here. Yeah, I soon found out it's not easy. And the thing is, the animation works like normally in a non-linear way. You have the possibility to change things. You can make a keyframe, then you make another keyframe, and everything that happens in between you can still tweak. And for us, like when you have this guy there standing there, and you have a cube, and he has to pick it up, like you have to make everything happen in one take. So he has to go there, pick it up, and it was a challenge. And we decided to do marionettes. And the first marionette setup that worked was a rubbish car. And you see there on top, there's a string, and it's holding the lid of the car, and then there's a motor inside of the car. It's driving off. And it worked, and I was really happy with it. Outside of the frame, the whole thing like flipped and broke, but that's another aspect of the project, that everything that's happening outside of the frame, it doesn't matter. Everything that happens inside of the camera is the thing that has to work. And our first character, Pigeon, started off very simple with two controllers there on top, and if you move them, then they're connected to the wings, and then the whole thing, the little guy can fly. And then we built some trees for him, and the trees are made with, I love PowerPoint, are made with hair. And in Cinema 4D, I'm not sure if anyone of you knows Cinema 4D, you can there's 3 different dynamic systems, and this is one of them, hair system, and you can make one hair, which is the trunk, and then you make the twigs or the branches, and then the twigs, and then the leaves. Everything is hair, and they grow out of each other, and it's dynamic. And then you can put birds in it, and you can have interactions like these, for example, when the bird is trapped in the leaves. do we actually need the microphone? Because I have a feeling I'm blowing in it all the time. Then we started making forest, also hair. And these are very early takes. And I was really surprised that my computer could take it because it's so much geometry. And made grass and European trees and tropic trees. Still didn't know which one to use. At the moment we're kind of finished building the forest, and at the moment it's just birches, and actually it's more this kind of forest than this. And an experiment with our chief running through it. And you can see that everything is interacting, which is quite nice. And finally the lazy part comes in, so we just make him run and everything else happens by itself. Kind of. Sometimes it doesn't. But here it works. And for the jungle, we have the jungle animals. Giraffe, zebra, and lion. And you see how it works. You have the controllers, they're on top, and they're connected to the body parts, and then you can animate them. Yeah. Fierce lion. And then the characters as well. And the good thing about it is it's very unpredictable. It is kind of predictable, but still it has these accidents. And for example, if you have to stop them, you have to put a cube so it bounces there, and then you hide it later on. Because if you don't put it there, then he's just gonna shake and just do silly things. And another interesting thing is when they interact together. So it's like, it is a bit like if you really feel like a director. So you say that the guys slide down there, and then they interpret your directions. They say, okay, I'm gonna do this. And so sometimes it looks nice, like with the guy there on the swing, he's looking quite realistic, but then the running people, they look stupid, but we do an ugly movie, so it's a good excuse to do stupid things. This is our bicycle, and it was at the beginning of the project when I didn't know how to make him drive, so it's like a Flintstone setup. There's a ventilator there, like a fan, and it's blowing the leaves past him, but he's actually on the spot, and then the environment is passing him. And then a couple of weeks later, I put a motor in it and made a motorcycle. And I never expected this to really go far, but then kind of did. And that was a very successful moment. And for this part there, it worked. So it's, again, outside, it doesn't matter. Here is a thing like we have a burning house in the movie, and these are particles, and we project a texture onto like a moving image texture onto the particles, and then it looks like fire, kind of. And we did a similar thing with the waterfall. So sometimes it looks nice, even though it's an ugly movie. And we have a very sophisticated water simulation, fluid sim, with the animals in the boat. And yeah, it's just planes there that are sliding through a valley. Okay, and here's another fluid sim. This is it's like a chain reaction. We have the water drops falling, and then they create more water drops, and then they leave the marks, and ugly, they're lying and suffering. And about chain reactions, here's a clip that we made also inspired by YouTube. And it's usually, I don't know, when you work with dynamics, then it's sometimes you have to do a film, but then you want to do something else because it offers itself to you because you've seen it and it's perfect for dynamics, and then you do this, and then it ends up in the film. So we actually have this in the film somewhere. We don't have the next one, and I wanted to explain how it works. The motor is inside of the motorcycle. You've seen the motorcycle. Then the wheel is driving the carousel. The character inside the carousel is spinning because of the carousel, and then he has this Lacoste shirt that is flipping out, and it has too little sampling to really follow his movements, so it's making this shape, and it also happened by accident, but we left it in there. And the next one is an experiment, walk cycle experiment. So we did a treadmill. It's actually me who is doing the voice for this guy. It sounds like a pig in the last one. And it took a couple of times to do it. I had to jump on the floor, and because if you do it just by standing like this, then it just doesn't sound real. That's what I had to find out about making sound for stuff. The next one for the film historians, you probably know the scene. It's, I'm not going to say which film it is. Okay, well, it's, again, we have to do a film, but then we needed to squeeze this one in, and that's why it takes 4 years to finish this. I'm not going to squeezing anything in this month. And dynamics, what else can you do dynamics, especially like when you take them out of their context? For example, this is a cloth simulation, and we use it for a galaxy. And here's how it works. So these rings and balls, they kind of push it and pull it, rotate it, and then it gets this, kind of has a feel of a galaxy, at least I think it does. This one was quite little problematic. It's a plastic bag landing on his head. Normally, I would plan for this for like a half day to experiment for this fly up and then on his head, but this one just happened. It's just like tweaking those little things there on the right, and that's why you need to control stuff. Because it's good to have chaos, but it needs to be contained, and that's why this is important. So how do you control dynamics? For example, if you want to make a dog run, then it's not really, this is what happened at the beginning. Then we made him run. This is just, I'm going to show you on the dog how the whole process works. So he runs, then we're happy with this, then we put it into a little chase scene, then we have Ugly being dragged there on the bottom, and the dogs try to chase him. And this works, so yes, cool. Next, how about when you have a car dragging Ugly, and then the rope rips, he flies through the air, and then the dogs have to jump and glide into him. And the problem is with dynamics that he always lands at a different spot, and with 3 dogs it just didn't work. I even tried to increase the chance of collision by making like more dogs. This didn't work. So this is one thing that I learned, is sometimes you need to let go of things, even though I'm usually stubborn. I'm sure many people are stubborn, try to make things work real hard, but sometimes it's no point. So here's the final shot that worked, and it's basically a chopped up simulation. You have one simulation of him being pulled, then he's landing, and then the dogs are simulated afterwards. And so yeah, again, everything that's in camera is important, everything that's outside of the camera doesn't matter. And here is a shot outside of the camera. The guy there at the bottom with the number 12, I'll talk about him later. He is basically filming this scene. This is the final scene. You see the leaves there on the bottom. I'll talk about the leaves just very quickly. We have setup that we didn't use for the whole film, actually, that blowing those leaves out there, and it's supposed to be for the background, but then we ended up using the complicated setup for everything. And then we have the flies there, and it's working with gravity, so the gravity is pulling them down, and then we have an attractor that's pulling them to the attractor, and then we have a turbulence, so it's like many different force fields that are making them move. And then we have this little this block there that's simulating an object, and it has a lot of friction on it, so if the flies bounce against him, they actually land on it. So that's what we use for the flies of Ugly. So when they land on him, then it's happening also by accident. And the leaves, this is our leaf setup, or like a little tornado setup. It's a bit like playing a computer game. These little controls there on the bottom, they are connected to the fans, and you can make them spin in a very chaotic ways. And it's a bit difficult if you have to create a certain motion of the leaves, but then it's very intuitive as well, and it's fun. And here is our guy with the number 12, our camera guy, DOP, and he's responsible for the shots in Ugly. So it's like again a stupid setup for a shaky cam. Here he's filming our drone operator. Yeah, the drone that's lying there on the left is also controllable and works like this. So you have 4 motors that are spinning and using aerodynamics in Cinema 4D. So if you spin one motor faster than the other, then it changes the direction that it's flying, and that's how the whole thing works. And it was just a stupid thing that we did, and I was thinking that's it. But then we actually found a shot that we could use the drone on, and you've seen the fire before, so now it's filmed with the drone. And you see it's flying really super professional, like without any movement. That's because there's no wind in it, in the scene. If you put wind, then it's gonna freak out, but we needed a good shot. And here's the final shot. That's it. Yeah, other things you can do with motors, obviously you can do cars. And we have a Citroën there, and it has a low ride mode. And it drives kind of nearly stable. And the motorcycle that we had before that only drove until the edge of the screen, we fixed it. So now it drives further than that, and we built a half pipe for this. Yeah, our DOP is taking all pictures. And also fun, probably not that spectacular, our bicycle is now also moving forward. And he can drive actually forever. That's why he has a sit tight parameter there on the right bottom. Like I think he's gonna fall just without sit tight. Sit tight is basically telling him how strong he has to grip the bicycle. So if it's too high, then he's just gonna stay on the bicycle no matter what. And also with motors, we have built a butterfly that's driven with a motor. So there's a little motor inside it, and it's just rotating into two directions, like changing directions very quickly, and that's why it's moving its wings. We changed this setup later because it's too complicated and produced bad results. Here's many butterflies. And again, why this project takes 4 years, we connected a PlayStation 2 controller to Cinema 4D, so you can fly the drone. And it's quite fun. It's a bit difficult. And so it's making it a very expensive console. And here's Lada with trying to take the ramp there. Okay, I think I'm gonna skip it at some point. Okay, now. Right, and yeah, it's a lot of experimenting. And the good thing when you work with experiments is that at some point you know when things start breaking. And for example, if you have a car, then you have different options. How do you want to break it? For example, here is soft body dynamics, or you use cloth for the car. So it makes completely different kind of breaks differently. And because we're working 4 years on the film, new tools become available in Cinema 4D. Like this is the newest fracture tool. So I broke my own house. I live in the 4th floor there. And once you do these experiments, you can make a whole city fall apart. So yes, and So mistakes are basically quite good, and they're a big part of the project. And like things that happen by accident, they landed quite often in our film. So it's just sometimes it is a bit difficult when you have accidents, that you have to find a balance of the accidents to fit with the story. And but he also ended up in the film. Okay, I think that's actually it already. These are like the latest experiments that we've done. We basically we put everything up on Facebook and Twitter, or Vimeo, not so much, maybe later. But if you like the stuff, then just follow us, and posting stuff every 2 weeks, I think. It's stuff like this you probably can't use for commercial stuff, but I wanted to do an emotional finish. Yeah, basically, you can't really use this on commercial stuff, but that's why it's so good to have a personal project where you can just like mess around and do silly things that you could never do when there's a client. And that's why it's been such good times in the last 4 years, even though I just spent it in front of the computer screen most of the time, but it was great. And so I'm a bit sad that we're nearly done, but it's still 2 weeks to go, so I'm gonna enjoy it. And I think that's it. Thanks.